What's going on, everybody? This is Island Hopper TV, and today we're going to do 50 bucket list travel destinations around the world, part 2. If you haven't already seen our first one, we will put a link below in the description and in the comments. And as always, there are timestamps below so you can bounce around from destination to destination. First up is Hong Kong. Now, I personally have been to Hong Kong 5 times, and it is considered the Pearl of the Orient, the gateway to Asia, as some would call it. But it's truly now the gateway to China. This super modern city sits on the shores of Victoria Harbor, with Hong Kong Island and mainland China separating the two. Right next door is Shenzhen. While in Hong Kong, do be ready to try lots of awesome Chinese food. Hong Kong is considered a global financial center and one of the most visited cities in the entire world. Next up, we're headed to London in the United Kingdom. Considered by many to be the absolute financial capital of the world, here in London you'll see Big Ben, the London Bridge, many of the castles that are around the royal family, and hang out around the Thames River. Another popular place to go is Piccadilly Circus. When in London, I recommend 3 to 4 days to explore the city and then head out around the rest of England. I do highly recommend visiting London at least once in your life. Next up, we're headed down to Indonesia to Raja Ampat. Located in West Papua, this is actually considered by some to be the last Eden. So if you want to see incredible biodiversity and coral reefs like you've never seen before, and come on out here to Raja Ampat. These islands and the setting here is truly out of this world, and it's still very remote and considered a hidden gem. Next up, we're headed to Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. While here, you can check out many of the historical landmarks from the establishment of the United States. But I would say beyond that, Washington, D.C. is actually considered by many to have the best weather in the East Coast. It doesn't get too cold and it doesn't get too hot, but I would say it's definitely got some of the best environment for just relaxation. 3 days in Washington visiting all the museums is perfect. Next up, we're headed to Budapest here in Hungary. This is actually considered the capital of bathhouses, so when you come here, you've got to try out some of these bathhouses. But beyond that, they've got some incredible palaces and structures all around this medieval city. They've got an old town, and they've got a lot of historical relics along the Danube River, which is actually the second longest river in all of Europe. Be sure to check out the Buda Castle and the Castle District while in Budapest. Next up, we're headed to Italy, to the region of Tuscany. This here is Florence, which was the primary city of the Renaissance era, which led Europe out of the Dark Ages. Here you can find the statue of David by Michelangelo. You can cross the Ponte Vecchio over the river. You can check out the Duomo Cathedral, amazing Italian food, and many historical figures come from here like Niccolo Machiavelli, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Florence Nightingale, and so many more. Next up, we're headed down south to South Africa. While here, you can check out Cape Town, Johannesburg, do some surfing, and wildlife excursions. There's lots of dramatic scenery around here, and you can go to Kruger National Park, where they have some incredible waterfalls and wildlife safaris, elephants, zebras, giraffes, lions, all of that roaming wild here in South Africa. And don't forget to head up top to Table Mountain for the views. Next up, we're headed back to the United States. This time we're in San Francisco, right here on the West Coast. They've got the Golden Gate Bridge, the Bay Area Bridge. You can also go around San Francisco Bay, see the history at Alcatraz. So much to do here in San Francisco. It is considered one of the finest cities in all of the United States, and when you're here, you'll know why. It is a bit expensive, but 3 days here is just perfect. This area of houses is known as the Seven Sisters, and then if you head down to Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco, you can see wild sea lions barking right there on the wharf. Next up, we're headed to the island nation of Singapore. Here you can go around Marina Bay, you can go to the Cloud Forest, and walk around here where they have the Super Tree Grove. You can go to Little India, Chinatown, and one of my favorite things to do here is eat the food at the food hawker stalls all across the city. We actually ranked it as the #1 foodie city in the entire world. I highly recommend trying Laska at La Pasat Hawker. Now we're actually headed to India. This is Jaipur here in Rajasthan. Here you can check out the Pink City and all the royal palaces of the capital here in Rajasthan. There's also the old fort, and you'll see elephants all around Jaipur. It is considered one of the first master plan cities in all of India, and also known for its gems that the royal families used to wear. Very elegant. So much history around Jaipur. If you get a chance, go to Jaipur and explore more of Rajasthan. Now we are actually headed to the largest metropolis in the world, Tokyo, Japan. While here, you can also go up to Mount Fuji and explore many of the temples down here, as well as the Japanese gardens. If you get a chance, go to Senzoji Temple. You can also attend a sumo wrestling event. Tokyo is a very culturally rich city. You can actually go down to Shibuya and ride Mario Karts around the city, which is actually a pretty cool activity to do. Be sure to try some tempura or some ramen while you're here. So much awesome Japanese food. And then if you head over to some of the neighborhoods like Shinjuku, or you can head to downtown Tokyo area, also the Shibuya crossing area like we mentioned before, and Ginza. Next up, we're headed to Vietnam. Now this country is one of the most affordable countries you can travel to if you're on a budget, so chalk that up as a win. It's in Southeast Asia. You're gonna have unique cuisine like pho, and you can check out cities like Ho Chi Minh, Saigon. You can go to Hanoi, which is the city on the bend in the river. You can go to Nha Trang or Da Nang. So many different places like Hoi An. Vietnam is truly an amazing place. A lot of people like to go to Ha Long Bay on the coast. You need at least a week or two in Vietnam, but do be sure to get out into the mountains and not just spend your time in the cities. Now we are headed to Norway, Norseland. This is the land of the Vikings, right here at the western edge of Scandinavia. You've got places like Bergen, you've got the capital of Oslo where you can find the history, go around this really nice city that's is typically where you arrive into Norway from, and then you can head out to the fjords, places like Lofoten, or you can go inland. You can actually take a train from Oslo to Bergen, one of the most beautiful in the world, and even see the Northern Lights. If you want to see the Northern Lights, you need to go really far north in the wintertime. Now we're headed to Morocco, where Africa meets Europe at the Straits of Gibraltar. They have Chefchaouen, which is the blue city. They've also got Casablanca, Fez. They've also got Marrakesh. So many places to go around here in Morocco, very culturally rich, especially if you're into art. Morocco's got you covered on that. You're going to want to go around to some of the cities and then possibly even head up to the Atlas Mountains. Also, there is the Western Sahara Desert, which is another beautiful place to check out. Now we're headed back to the United States. This is Yosemite National Park here in California. They've got Half Dome, they've got El Capitan. This is a very popular valley actually to hang out. They've got the largest trees in the world. They're called giant sequoias. So you'll see lots of waterfalls as you're in Yosemite Valley. People come here to do 3 or 4 days of camping and exploring the nature around here, many different trails. And this is a look at one of those redwood trees. This is a giant sequoia. So Yosemite, really an amazing national park. Now we're headed back to Europe in Prague to this medieval city right here along the Vltava River. You can cross the Charles Bridge, do a river cruise, or go to the old town where the astronomical clock is. They also have the Prague Castle with these incredible stainless glass windows. So really getting around Prague in the old town in particular and exploring this medieval city, one of my favorite cities in all of Europe. If you get a chance, try some roast pork served with sauerkraut and dumplings. Now we're headed to the final frontier of Alaska. There's a good reason why they call it the final frontier. Here you can check out the Inner Passage. You can also go down to the Kenai Peninsula and do some fishing out in the Bering Strait. They've got a great interior that's very wide open. This is true wild wilderness right around Denali. On the way from Anchorage to Fairbanks, you'll see all of it. But if you wanted to go down to the south, you can check out places like Homer. Some other places I recommend are going to be Whittier. They've also got glaciers, which you'll find mostly around Juneau and Ketchikan. So really getting around this beautiful state of Alaska here in the far North Pacific. But yes, lots of wildlife here. You're going to see wild eagles, tons of fish, really a great place to be. Next up, we're headed to the Caribbean, to Jamaica. There are going to be places that you'll check out like Montego Bay. The capital is Kingston, although that's pretty much where you'll land but not hang out. If you really wanted those beautiful resorts, you just go over towards the west side of the island where Montego Bay is. You're going to have places like Negril. You have Port Antonio. Also, if you really just want to do a tropical beach vacation, Jamaica's one of the best places to go. The water out here is amazing with the colors. 5 to 7 days in Jamaica is just right. Now we're heading down to the lower Antilles. This is St. Lucia. The Pitons, which are these volcanic rock formations. Got many hotels and bungalows here for people on honeymoon. It's actually one of the more popular places in the Caribbean for people who are on honeymoon. So if a relaxing Caribbean vacation is what you're looking for, I highly recommend getting out there to St. Lucia. And tell them Island Hopper TV sent you. And now we're headed back to Florida. This time we're in Orlando. This is pretty much the amusement park capital of the world, and especially the United States. Orlando has so many different parks. They have Disney and Universal. Disney has 5 parks. Universal has 3. My favorite one here is the water park called Volcano Bay, which you're looking at right here. And then they have SeaWorld, probably the best SeaWorld out there. They have an indoor restaurant with an aquarium. And then they have downtown. And if you were to ask me, do I recommend Universal or Disney? I would say Universal's more for adults, Disney's more for kids. They do have Harry Potter Town, which is in Universal Studios. And then you can see right here, they've got the Disney parade going. Also, if you look at this Ferris wheel, that's actually International Drive, which is another cool place. Now we're headed back to the edge of Europe. This is Portugal, where they've got places like Sintra, where the castles are. They've also got Lisbon. The good news is Lisbon and Sintra are very close to each other, so you can visit both in the same trip. Also, they have Porto, which is one of my favorite cities in all of Europe and probably my favorite in Portugal. Then they have the coastline known as the Algarve. So many different tourist attractions around Portugal. The good news is they do have a train that takes you from the north to the south pretty efficiently. It's not necessarily a high-speed train, but it does get the job done. There's also this really cool umbrella street called Aguda. And you can see, just going around Portugal is very nice. You will need at least a week to explore Portugal. Now we're in the amazing country of Scotland, which is actually connected to the United Kingdom. Some of the things you'll want to do while here is go to Edinburgh Castle. You can also go to Stirling Castle, Palace of the Holy Roadhouse. So many different castles here, and that's really what Scotland is known for. But you can also check out Inverness, which is the Loch Ness area. You have St. Andrews, nice golf course. You will need at least a week here in Scotland to explore, probably more. You either arrive in Edinburgh or Glasgow. Now we're headed back to Africa. This time we're in Namibia, where they have the Namib Desert, an incredible desert with wildlife safaris that you can do out of here. When you arrive, you'll probably arrive in Windhoek. Now, one of the things that makes Namibia one of the best countries in Africa is it's very safe, and they have some of the best infrastructure with the roads and even a train. They also are home to a very beautiful tree called the baobab tree, very rare tree that you can only really find in certain places. Now we're headed to Azores, right out here in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. This amazing volcanic island chain is something you should check out. It's also a part of Portugal, by the way. There are several islands. They all have different dramatic landscapes with volcanic terrain. Because it's out here in the middle of the Atlantic, it's very popular with people who like to do whale watching and dolphin exploring. Also, lots of fishing villages you'll see around here. It is a very green and lush island chain, as you can see by these waterfalls here. Probably the best one is going to be São Miguel. Now we're headed down under to Sydney, Australia. Many people I have talked to have believed that Sydney is the most scenic, pristine city in all of the world. They have the Opera House right there in Sydney Harbor. If you go around to Manly or Bondi Beach, these are some of the most famous beaches in all of Australia, and some would say even in the whole world. If you go down to Bondi, you'll see so many people just hanging out along the beach. You can check out places like Darling Harbour, where they're going to have a lot of restaurants. You can also go to the Royal Botanic Garden of Sydney. Now we're going up to the Baja of Mexico. This area is known for Cabo San Lucas being at the tip of Baja, California. You've also got places like La Paz and Todos Santos. Very interesting terrain because it's like this desert with islands around the Gulf, the Sea of Cortez. Really, the Baja is an impressive stretch of land with lots of oceanfront property. I would say whale season in Baja is the best time to go. That's usually from November until March, maybe into April. Also, the weather is going to be a bit better during that time frame. As far as food, you're going to get tons of variety of Mexican food out here in the Baja. Try and get out to some of the islands while you're out here, maybe even checking out Laredo. Now we're headed to Sri Lanka. Located just off the southeastern tip of India, it is a very exotic island with spices and coconuts and beautiful beaches. Also, they have wild elephants and peacocks. Really, Sri Lanka also is known for this big rock called Sirigaya. So if you get a chance to check that out and climb to the top where the fort is, wow, that would be amazing. After all, Sri Lanka is the pearl of the Indian Ocean. Now we're headed to Miami, home to South Beach, one of the most famous beaches in the world. And you also have downtown Miami, you have Brickell, you also have Little Havana, and then just going around Miami Harbor here in Biscayne, very beautiful place. Also, I just wanted to remind you guys, we will put some videos below in the description about some of these places specifically, so do check the description links for those videos. Like the best places to go in Florida, which includes Orlando as well. Now we're headed to New Orleans right here, as some other people call it, but a place where you can get Cajun cuisine and unique culture right there in the old French Quarter. Very unique place. A lot of people like to go down to Bourbon Street to do some partying, but they have other streets like Royal, Rue. A lot of people like to go here for Mardi Gras. That's going to be around the time frame of February, but I would say the best time to be here is from February to May. Probably the best weather as well. And if you can get out to the bayou, that's all the better right there in Louisiana. Now we're headed down to Colombia, to Medellin, and this is actually one of my favorite cities in South America, but it's also one of my favorite cities in the world. If you like landlocked cities at high elevation that are in valleys, this one's got you covered. It's actually nicknamed the Land of the Eternal Spring. One of the most popular things is to ride this cable car. The best area to stay is going to be Poblado, but if you wanted a nice area to check out and do a tour, head up to Comuna 13. 3 days in Medellin is perfect. Next, we're headed to Nepal. This is at the high elevation in the Himalayas. Now, Nepal is famous because of its spiritual connection that people get when they're here. They also like to go neighboring Bhutan. But yes, right here in the Himalayas, Nepal, so much tradition and culture for you to soak in. But there's also cool places like Kathmandu, the Pokhara Valley, where you can witness the Himalayan ranges. So really an interesting place for a variety of different reasons, spiritual and also for landscape. Now we're headed to Central America, to the small country of Belize right here on the Caribbean. They have Mayan ruins here that you can explore. They've also got incredibly beautiful beaches and islands around here. They're like Kai Cocker. Scuba diving out at the Blue Hole, so if you get a chance, go out there. But yeah, Belize, definitely a hidden gem. Now we're headed up to Canada. This time we're in Vancouver, which is one of the most expensive cities in the world, but also one of the most amazing cities in the world. I consider this to be one of the top 10 international cities, meaning it's very multicultural and very diverse with its food and cuisine, making it a foodie city. Check out the Gaslamp Quarter and Yale Town while here. And next up, we're headed out to the big island of Hawaii, where they've got the tallest mountain in the world if you consider from seafloor to summit. That's Mauna Kea. They also have the largest active volcano in the world, which is Mauna Loa. They have many amazing beaches like around Kailua Kona. They have Magic Sands, and they also have Kua Bay. And then you can go around the other side of the island where they have the Green Sand Beach. So really a spectacular island. I always said that the Big Island was the adult Disneyland because it's such an adventurer's paradise. Really it is. You're gonna need a rental car to get around, but wow, it's amazing. If you get a chance, also go out to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park and definitely find a way to get out on the water because that's what makes the Big Island so special. Now we're headed down under again to Tasmania, home of the Tasmanian Devil, but it's such a diverse island down here. It's actually between the island of Australia and Antarctica, so it does get a bit brisk down here, so pack accordingly. The main city here is called Hobart, but if you wanted to go around the rest of the island, I would definitely say do it if you can. Now we're headed to the Gold Coast of Australia. This is actually in Queensland, also known as Surfer's Paradise. It truly is a surfer's paradise. beautiful white sand beaches. This is actually an hour south of Brisbane, and if you wanted to arrive here, you would arrive in Coolangatta, but you could also arrive in Brisbane. Consider going south to Byron Bay. Now we're headed to Montenegro, right here on the Adriatic Sea, connecting with the Mediterranean. One of the most underrated travel destinations I have ever been. I would love to go back there and plan to go back there. It is still a very affordable destination. You can check out destinations like Budva, Kotor, Tivat. We've also got a video on this one that you can check in the link description below. And now we're actually headed back to the United States, to Utah, to Zion National Park. This is where Angel's Landing is located. This rugged terrain has some of the most incredible landscapes you'll find anywhere. Imagine Yosemite without the trees, right? I almost put all of Utah on there because there are several national parks nearby, like Arches. Now we're headed to the most wealthy country on earth, Monaco, known as the billionaire's paradise. But when I went here, I found it to be a very interesting place to explore. I stayed in Nice, France, and then I just took the train up. So it's really easy to get here without having to pay the expensive prices. And really, you just need 24 hours to explore Monaco. It's a really small nation. And next up, we're headed to Aruba, a part of the ABC Islands, which are Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, all a part of the Dutch territories. But down here in Aruba, you'd be surprised to find out it's actually a desert island. It's not very tropical, but they have some of the best beaches like Eagle Beach, Baby Beach. Definitely get down here to Aruba to check out these relaxing vibes along the beach towns like Palm Beach. Now we're headed to Seychelles. This is actually nearby Africa in the Indian Ocean. And you can see they've got some of the most beautiful beaches you will find anywhere. People like to come here on honeymoon or just to relax and soak up this vitamin C here and tropical vibes on this island. Just really a relaxing place to go. Next up, we're headed to Western Australia. This time we're in Perth. Perth is actually considered the most isolated big city in the world. It's actually closer to Jakarta than it is to Sydney. When you're out here, you've only got a couple towns south of here like Margaret River, and that's about it. So it is a big city, but very unique because of its isolation. 3 to 4 days in Perth is perfect. Now we're actually headed back to the Caribbean. This time we're in the Bahamas, which is basically the playground for people from Florida. There's around 700 islands here in this nation and 2,400 Ks. So really a lot of islands out here in the Bahamas. Only 30 of the islands are actually inhabited, so you can get some virgin islands out here, if you know what I mean. Popular places to arrive are Bimini or Nassau. Now we're actually headed out to the North Atlantic to the Faroe Islands. This one is just simply stunning landscapes with a lake and a waterfall that just drips into the Atlantic Ocean. This here is the Faroe Islands, a part of the Republic of Denmark, actually. Now, getting out here is not the easiest thing, so do plan accordingly. It's going to take a little bit of work to get out here, but when you do, you're going to be on these isolated islands here in the North Atlantic. I would say the best time to be here is going to be the summertime. And now we're headed back down to the Caribbean to Dominican Republic. The capital here is Santo Domingo, but the places you want to go are going to be Punta Cana, Isla Sawana, Romana, and then if you go up to the north, Puerto Plata. You need at least 7 days to explore Dominican Republic. I would say even longer than that. A lot of people end up just moving here when they get here. It's really got some unique culture. It's affordable, and of course, it's beautiful. If you like Caribbean food, then Dominican Republic's where you want to be. You can see around Dominican Republic right here at the cathedral. So yes, Dominican Republic, add it to your list. Now we're headed to Jerusalem out here in Israel. This here is the Holy Land. From here, you can go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. You can go to the Western Wall, the Israel Museum of Jerusalem. Also, people like to go out to the Dead Sea from here because it's so easy to get there. They have the Jewish quarter, the Armenian quarter, and then they have the Temple on the Mount, of course. To get here, you need to arrive in Tel Aviv because that's where the international airport is. Now we're actually headed to the Turkish Riviera. Now the Turkish Riviera is going to include Antalya. They've also got Alanya. And then it kind of wraps around the Mediterranean where there's a bunch of Greek ruins. And then it actually heads up towards Kaz. And then you keep going and you'll eventually be in Fedai and Aludnis. where they have paragliding down into the Blue Lagoon area. So much Turkish food here. You can try doner kebab and lots of different breads, baklava. Also, if you get a chance, go out, do some sunset tours right there on the water. Really a nice place, Turkish Riviera. Famous for its all-inclusive resorts. And then head out to the Greek islands. From there, you have places like Crete, you have Rhodes, and then if you go further into the Aegean Sea, you have Santorini, Mykonos, you have Paros, you have Naxos. So many different islands out here for you to explore. It's one of my favorite places to explore, really. We just did a Greek islands travel guide. I'll put a link to that below. And then we also have Las Vegas, known as Sin City, but it's really a casino city with lots of different resorts out here in the middle of the desert. I would say 4 days in Las Vegas is really all you need. It is certainly someplace you at least have to go once in your life. We did also just make a travel guide for Las Vegas with 50 things to do. We will put the link below in the description as well. If you enjoyed this one, definitely watch part 1 of 50 things to do in the world. We will put that link below, and also at the end here, you can just click it now, or you can click the top 25 best cities in Europe video. See you on the next one. And a big thanks to all our subscribers and channel members.